Look at him, eating whatever he wants, never gaining a pound. While I'm stuck with the boring special and can't lose an ounce.
How's your lunch, man?
Amazing. Yours?
So good.
Oh, I'm so happy for you.
Cool, buddy.
Weight loss isn't fair, but Mochi Health is. The affordable GLP-1 source that can fix your frustration with food.
So, same time next week?
No!
Definitely.
And your friends. Learn more at joinmochi.com. Mochi members have access to licensed physicians and nutritionists. Results may vary.
Everyone, it is time for Cactus League action. By the time you are listening to this podcast, folks, we will have a Royals lineup. We will have a Royals starter. We will have baseball once again. Granted, it won't be on our TV screens, but we'll be listening to the game at least. Let's go ahead and talk about those Kansas City Royals. Welcome to the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. I am Jacob Milham, and as always, my illustrious co-host, Jeremy Hokius Greco, is on the other end of the horn. Jeremy, are we excited for spring training baseball?
Yeah.
They said, yeah, duh.
Listen, I told you last weekend I went to the batting cages. I'm going to try and go again this weekend. Last night I watched Mr. Baseball. That's, spoiler alert, that's probably going to be my review today.
Heck yeah.
You know, I've been playing MLB The Show 25, which I usually don't do after they stop releasing content. I'm just like, I need baseball in my life. Let's go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think I'm going to sit down, and I know this isn't going to surprise anyone. I'm probably going to sit down and watch Moneyball. Honestly, like there's that movie gets me jazzed up. I know the book is a lot more historically accurate, and I agree the better version of the story. But I really do like Moneyball. That's a good
movie.
It is.
And it's got one of the best baseball movie quotes of all time.
It does. It has a lot of good quotables in there. Tell 'em Wash. I still think we should have ridden the Tell 'em Rusty a little bit more. Like we could.
It just doesn't roll off the tongue the way Tell 'em Wash does.
That's true. That's true. We have First off, a couple of programming things. Thank you, everyone, for the support on the Brian Sweeney interview. We got a lot of great comments on that, a lot of great compliments. But overall, thank you to Brian and the Royals for setting that up. They didn't have to take out time of their day to sit down with us, and ultimately a lot of great takeaways from that talk, not only for the 2026 Royals, but like looking back on past Royals and looking at overall philosophies and things like that. So I highly suggest going and checking out that interview. I also want to plug another podcast, frankly, because I am jealous. I will be the first one to admit it. I am very, very jealous of Jack Johnson and the Locked On Royals podcast for being able to be down there in spring training, getting a lot of one-on-one interviews with these players. That's, a lot of folks go down to spring training on their own dime, more often than not. We just get Pop-Tarts, and frankly, Delta Airlines does not take Pop-Tarts as a form of currency for plane tickets. Not yet. We'll get there. Listen, if crypto can get there, if that can get there, I think Pop-Tarts can get there as currency.
I love that we were exactly on the same wavelength there, because I was like, there's somewhere in here, there's a joke about Pop-Tarts and Bitcoin. Where is it? And you had it, right? You were ready to go. I love it.
I'm ready to go. I'm ready.
This is
I'm
why
clicking.
we're the dream team, baby.
Exactly. But all that to say, go check out the channel over there. A lot of good interviews going on, and kudos to all the folks on the ground there in Surprise. We're getting a lot from Josh Vernier, Annie Rogers, Jalen Thompson. So make sure you go check them out on social media if you're getting a little bit of that itch. I know I have all my notifications set up for them primarily for spring training, because if we hear about stuff going on at the game, well, they're probably the people going to have the clip. Like that's usually how it works out, especially when we don't have a produced TV broadcast for so many of these Cactus Leagues games. Jeremy, I genuinely think that if I could change any one thing about spring training, it would be that. I think like you're really missing out on a lot of momentum from people being invested back in spring training. And you come to it, games start, you can't watch most of them, and it's disappointing.
I think it would be really huge for getting fans excited about the younger guys in the system, also all those non-roster invitees, and building storylines about even veterans trying to come back to baseball. Maybe they've been out of it for a couple of years, or they've not been very good for a couple of years. Brandon Drury, who got signed after we did our infield stuff, unfortunately,
Yeah.
he should be a really interesting storyline because as I wrote when the Royals signed him, he was a guy I was looking at a couple of years ago that I was like, it would be kind of nice if the Royals would go get him. And he was hurt all last year, wasn't very good even when he did play last year. So he's trying to make a comeback. It's not that far removed from when he was good. The Royals have a weakness on their infield, one weakness and 3 strengths. So credit for that. But this could be a storyline to watch. And I don't know, am I even going to get to see him bat? Is he going to bat in any of the games that are broadcast?
Yeah,
on TV?
exactly. Exactly. And thankfully we will, we'll get some StatCast stuff on Baseball Savant for some of these games. So that'll help as well.
Including all of the ones at Surprise, the
Yep.
Royals home stadium.
Here's kind of where I'm at. And I don't know why I'm fixating so much on this, but I am right now. Baseball with a capital B. We're looking ahead to possible outcomes of the CBA, and we'll talk about the union situation a little bit later on in the show. There is a very real world scenario where we lose a level of affiliated baseball. The draft shrinks, player pool shrinks. At least one level. And I feel, and it's like, okay, well, where do you put the raw players, the players coming straight out of high school? Well,
College.
You either put them in college or you put them in the Arizona Complex League or the Florida Complex League. And I just think that I bring this back to broadcasting because you'll have these players on the Arizona Complex League that you won't know much about simply because they're just a stat line. There's nothing to watch, nothing to listen to, nothing like that. I think that spring training would be a good way to okay, how can we minimally produce a game at least so that people can watch it? It might not be the most engaging product, but people who want to watch baseball will watch these simply because that's the option at the time. That's a rabbit hole for me to go down probably another time. Speaking of TV stuff, though, we did get a notable development that Royals fans should see in their upcoming TV broadcast: the strike zone changes, Jeremy. So this is something with ABS starting up this year. So can you tell listeners a little bit about what's going to change?
Yeah, so honestly, a lot of fans might not even notice. I didn't even know this was a thing until last year or 2 years ago, I forget. But MLB is requesting of their TV partners, which means this is something that they will definitely, the TV partners will almost certainly do it because it's easy enough to do. And the MLB is broadcasting so many teams' games themselves that they will do it there. But they're requesting that TV broadcasters do not indicate whether a pitch is a ball or a strike anymore. And I originally read that to mean they're taking the strike zone overlay off. They are not doing that.
Okay.
What they are doing is, it used to be that if a ball was in the strike zone, it would be filled in, and if it was outside the strike zone, it would be a hollow, an outline. So they're gonna get rid of that, and it's just gonna be one or the other. It'll be up to the broadcast partners to decide which of those things. But the reasoning MLB gave that I saw, and they might have changed their opinion since the last time I saw this, was to prevent any teams from gaining a competitive advantage by looking at the broadcast and deciding whether to challenge, ABS challenge. Now, first of all, the ABS challenge has to happen very quickly.
Yeah.
Or else you don't get to do it. So you don't got, and second of all, the TV broadcast is not allowed in the dugout, and it's not, the strike zone overlays aren't shown on the replay boards. So you'd have to get someone going to the clubhouse, waiting for the broadcast delay, which is 7 to 9 seconds, something like that, I think.
Be, yeah.
And then get back. There's not enough time. And third of all, as Dan Zimborski wrote on Blue Sky, isn't the point of this to get the call right? Not to have some kind of stupid game about, is it a ball or is it a strike? If the broadcast can tell, then let's just figure that out and get it right.
Yeah.
So it's not, if they'd gotten rid of the strike zone overlay, I would have been pretty annoyed. I like having the strike zone overlay. I like being able to tell, that was a really good take, or, the fans at the stadium that are so annoying are the ones that are like, oh, it was a strike. And you're like, it was 2 feet outside, my guy. Come on. And I was like that at home sometimes. And with the strike zone, it's easier to be like, okay, no, that was a ball. All right. I'm not going to yell at you. My blood pressure doesn't need to go up. Give me more information. It makes me happier. I guess some people don't like the strike zone overlay. I don't get that. I was listening to Effectively Wild, and they were talking about, oh, they've still got it. So if we can sneak Meg Rowley on here again, I intend to ask her, like, why do you dislike the strike zone overlay? But that's basically the change. So when I was putting it in the notes, I put it in the notes twice for this episode because I was like, I was really upset about it. And then I found out, oh, it's not that big of a deal.
So
it's kind of dumb, but yeah,
a little bit. So here's the number one. I don't understand the whole, like, I don't understand the MLB's competitive advantage thing when it comes, especially off the broadcast, especially if there is a broadcast delay. I don't know too much in that, but like, again, that not mattering hinges upon how big the delay is. So if a broadcaster is not delaying it by that much, maybe 1 or 2 seconds, then you might be able to relay something in and make a case for it. But that's a very crazy thing to bring up, but also MLB team banging a trash can to communicate pitches was a crazy idea at the time. I will say I watched a Rangers game, I believe it was, and that broadcaster did not have anything for a strike zone. No lines, no like, hey, this is where the pitch landed, things like that. And I came to the realization that while I like that idea, it also is not, I don't want to say fair or it's not feasible, but just like I thought about it, and some of these broadcast angles are very drastic. Like they might be drastically over to the third base side and things like that. And what looks like a strike or a ball on the broadcast is not, in fact, that simply because of the camera angle. And sometimes
that actually explains something I noticed last year, but go on.
There you go. I think that the overlay, which is, they have specific math and they have tools in the broadcast booth to do this, you adjust the angle of it to account for that. So I think that's where where the value can come in. But I do understand from a purist standpoint, not having any overlay would be a fun experience.
Well, from a purist standpoint, go to the stadium.
Yeah,
that's exactly how they did it 100 years ago. They didn't watch it on TV at all.
Back in my day, we listened to it through a potato.
But I realized, as you were saying, that like sometimes I would see a pitch that would be indicated as a strike filled in, and it didn't appear to be even touching the box, and that would explain that. It's like, because the angle, it's a strike, but it looks like a ball on the overlay.
Yeah. So that's my experience. I would love to hear from other folks what they think of this, because there's a lot of different broadcasts out there that have these options. Personally, I found that I liked the the slightly filled in strike zone. Have you seen that broadcast before?
The one on Apple TV?
I think that's where I saw it, if I recall correctly. I kind of liked that one.
That one because it was difficult to see the ball.
I understand. And like that makes sense. Maybe if we can.
Speaking of difficult to see the ball, I would trade the strike zone overlay to get rid of the CGI ads on the backstop, because the green screen effect that they're applying there is frequently awful and makes it extremely difficult. If not difficult, then extremely sometimes painful to try and follow the ball out of the pitcher's hand.
And it is, I don't know what I can attribute this to, but golly, my brain sometimes just focuses in on that during an at-bat, especially depending on the player.
In this thing that's supposed to be real, it's this obviously unreal thing.
Yeah.
So your brain is like, there's something wrong with that. It's the uncanny valley effect.
There you go. All right. So 2 really small points I want to touch on before I forget. Number one, reminder that the Royals are helping out the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum this month with free admission to the museum. If you follow, go ahead.
They're also doing some events.
Okay, what are the events? I
keep going because I got to go find that email again.
Okay, thank you. So this is I am glad that the Royals continually support this. I have been disappointed with we're not representing the Kansas City Monarchs in Kauffman Stadium, anymore. I have genuinely been disappointed with that. Bob Kendrick is one of those guys. I haven't heard anyone say a single bad word about the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum's president. A lot of great stories as well. And if you follow him on social media, I know he shared some renderings of like how they're redesigning the museum. I have heard from some people that like the museum has a lot of great stuff in it and a great story. However, it is very dated in some ways, and it desperately needs that uplift, not just a facelift, but from the ground up. Let's really build like a cathedral to this really important part of baseball history. So what are some other events that are happening that can help people learn more about the Negro Leagues?
All right, so it looks like there's only really 2 events, unfortunately.
Okay.
We've got on Saturday, February 21st, so the day after this podcast goes live, 2 days after we're recording it, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., there will be Royals and Chiefs alumni autograph signing. It's open to the public. It's first come, first serve.
The secret is out. With millions of younger-looking customers across the country, Plexiderm is one of the most highly sought-after products on the market. It visibly shrinks under-eye bags and smooths out crow's feet in minutes, and the effects last up to 10 hours. Influencers love it, magazines feature it, and people just can't get enough of it. As a matter of fact, Elle Magazine gave it an Editor's Choice Award as Best Instant Wrinkle Filler for 2025. In as little as 10 minutes, Plexiderm reduces the appearance of fine lines, wrinkles, and those dreaded under-eye bags. So yes, you can look years younger in minutes, and the effects last for hours. No surgery, no gimmicks, just results. The best news, you can try Plexiderm for only $14.95. Plus, get free shipping. Don't wait. Order Plexiderm today. Visit plexiderm.com/special. That's plexiderm.com/special. Paid for by Sheer Science.
Check engine, ABS, or maintenance light on? Take the guesswork out of your warning lights with O'Reilly Veriscan. The service is free and provides a report with solutions verified by ASE certified master technicians. And if you need help, we could recommend a shop for you. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
It'll be Daryl Motley of the Royals and Danon Hughes of the Chiefs.
Cool.
I don't remember Danon Hughes at all, but he was a little bit before my time as a Chiefs fan, so you can go get your signatures from those guys and still free entry into the museum.
Exactly.
And then they also have On the Road to the Royals Hall of Fame, which is Tuesday, February 24th from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. The Royals Hall of Fame will be bringing in touch tour artifacts and a presentation on Royals history. It will also be open to the public. And to accommodate visitors, I've got a note here that says the museum will operate on an extended schedule in February. I mean, February is more than half over now, so great. Thanks for letting us know. But for Mondays, they're open 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Wednesdays, they're opening early at 9. Then Tuesday and Thursday through Saturday, they're open 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then Sunday from noon to 5 p.m.
Okay. That's that's pretty good extended hours. One thing, and these are a lot of like little tidbits when it comes to the Royals. One thing that I know a lot of folks out there watching games, sometimes the thought has crossed my mind about like working at the stadium and what that life is like. The Royals are having a hiring event for some of their seasonal positions that is coming up on Sunday, February 22nd from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. It's going to be the Diamond Club there at Kauffman Stadium. Folks can park in Lot M and enter through Gate C. Folks who want to go there and interview and apply for positions, they need to have a legal ID. And hey, jobs may be offered at the interview on Sunday. So make sure you go check that out. There's going to be a lot of variety of positions that they need filled. A lot of hands go into making every single game happen. So if you're interested, if you're looking for a job for the upcoming spring and summer, a little bit in the fall, hopefully, I would suggest going ahead and check this out. I know we talked about the ABS a little bit earlier on, but one thing to shout out from Annie Rogers, we got some insight into how the Royals are taking a look at the ABS down there in Surprise. she had a really good clip of Vinny Pasquantino challenging a pitch from Steven Zobach. It was really cool to see his reaction. And like, these are professional baseball players, and it's interesting to see the learning curve from them about, like, okay, well, this is mathematically a ball, or this is a strike. And like, they have to learn this too a little bit. A lot of the younger players have more experience with this, especially with, how the system works and what it might be biased towards or against. The speed of the whole thing we were talking about with the broadcast. I don't think that the broadcast delay is going to allow like a cheating scandal to come in off the ABS system. And it's going to be a learning curve. I do think that my analytical mind will say this. I do think that one way front offices are going to try and get a better handle on ABS is they're going to look at different pitches differently. You're going to want to have the option to challenge a ball that would have a bases loaded walk as compared to challenging the same pitch if the bases aren't loaded and if there's 2 outs. It all comes down to situational things. So I think that that's something that I want to try and dive into. I don't know how yet. So if anyone out there listening is interested in numbers as well, please go ahead and drop me a line. I would love to chat about that, because this is something kind of gotta mull around a little bit more in my head. Something that I will say I thought was a foregone conclusion that I hadn't really mulled around was Adam Frazier coming back to the Kansas City Royals. It really felt like that was a foregone conclusion, that the Royals had a spot on the roster for him whenever the MLB veteran was ready. And that's not going to happen. Frazier signed a minor league contract with the Los Angeles Angels, so he is going to try and break camp with that team. Now, is this to say that the Royals can't trade for him or get him if the contract allows? No, that's certainly an option, but it's something to keep an eye on, because the Royals did so good, frankly, after getting Frazier in the fold. A lot of eyes, a lot of folks rightfully were talking about Mike Yastrzemski and what he brought to the Royals after the trade deadline. Well, Adam Frazier was another very valuable part of the lineup after he joined the Royals. /283, 320, 402 in the 56 games that he played for the Royals. And overall, the Royals went 31-25 in the games he at least appeared in. And they were 29-19 in his starts. Like, when your team goes 82-80 and you have that sort of performance with a player in the lineup, it's worth wondering, well, is this causation or is this correlation? At least Frazier did really good in his 2025 stint with the Kansas City Royals. No one's taken that back. I did like this little nugget from Royals communication staff, so thank you to all the work y'all do over there. After spending the entire 24 season with the Royals, which everyone wanted to forget about, Frazier in 2025 became the 36th player in Royals history to appear with the team, leave the team, and then return. For how long the Royals have been around, you would think that they would have a few more players make that sort of move in their playing career, but alas, here we are. It is got some more unknowns in the infield utility roster battle spot. There's guys on the 40-man, there's guys on minor league contracts that might make a splash. Hopefully we will get some hard numbers and some insight into what those players could or couldn't be here soon. But if you want to stay informed on all things Royals, make sure you go check out RoyalsReview.com. We'll be talking about spring training action and performance and takeaways from games as well. It's going to be fun. I'm really excited. I know I might not sound over the moon about it right now, and I genuinely think that I would be so much more excited if there's going to be a TV broadcast for each and every game. I am excited to just hear the Royals radio network fire back up, hear from the crew down there, and start hearing about what they are doing down there. So the biggest baseball news of the past week has been something not with the player, not with the team, but with the players union. The leader of the players union, Tony Clark, resigning, and it was very much a developing story. Excuse me. It was like, oh, is this something to do with the investigation? Is he guilty? After so many people were saying that they didn't think he had done anything wrong. Well, came down to apparently he had an inappropriate relationship with his sister-in-law, who was also working for the union. But a lot of people that are smarter and more tied in have talked about this situation at large. And I think that Ken Rosenthal put it best when this is akin to Rob Manfred stepping away from his role. In a sense, when it comes to the labor negotiations specifically, you have a figurehead stepping away at this point. I think that's fair to say.
I don't know. I think Rob Manfred is a more important part of the commissioner's office than Tony Clark was. I think he's less of a figurehead than Tony Clark was, which isn't to say that Tony Clark stepping away isn't a big deal, because it is. Also, the loss of trust that has been endured. To me, that's potentially the biggest issue here. Is that, the leader of the union obviously wasn't trustworthy. I don't know that he would have been removed from his position if he hadn't hired his sister-in-law into the union, because that's when it becomes a professional matter instead of just a personal one. But he's clearly acting against the best interests of people allegedly close to him. So as a player, you're like, no wonder the players asked him to step down. The executive subcommittee, which is made up of MLB players, asked him to step down because you can't trust that guy. And especially heading into a huge negotiation, you leave a hole like that, and it leaves him open for exploitation. If Rob Manfred, or he's not the one who does the primary negotiating for the commissioner's office either. Just like Tony Clark didn't do the primary negotiating for the players union. But if he had found out that Tony Clark was doing all this stuff, they might have been able to use that as leverage to convince him to take a worse deal in order to keep it hidden. Of course, the players get to ratify it, but Tony Clark is a person in leadership. If he says, listen, this is the best deal we're going to get, you should sign it or else we're not going to get to play, then a lot of guys are going to go along with that. So you had to get him out of there.
Yeah,
like we
absolutely.
said, people more tuned in and more and smarter on these subjects than us have talked a lot about it. Just want to highlight, I reached out to Jen Ramos-Eisen, who we had on the podcast a few weeks ago, and they said they gave me a thread to look at.
Okay.
And it was basically like, this is a big deal, but doing it now is better than later.
Yeah.
They haven't actually started negotiations yet. They won't start till after the season begins. And also, I saw Mark Normandin, who I follow on Blue Sky because he writes about baseball and video games, especially the Trails series, which everyone knows I love. He said that as long as Bruce Meyer is still around, which he just got elected the interim head guy, that everything should probably be fine. Because honestly, based on what I was reading from the people who know more about this than we do, which is how you learn everything, is you read and talk to people who know more than you do, and then eventually you know that.
Yeah.
Tony Clark was around for 3 labor negotiations. The first 2 went pretty poorly for the players, and then he brought in Bruce Meyer to be the lead negotiator for the last one, and the players did much better.
Yes.
So that's there's a whole bunch of trouble brewing around Bruce Meyer too. He was the subject of that attempted union coup a couple of years ago where they wanted to put a different guy in charge of negotiations. Some of the players, because I guess some players and some players' agents especially think that Scott Boras has too much influence over Bruce Meyer.
Oh, geez.
Which I'm not really sure what is in Scott Boras' interests that's not in the interests of the players.
True. Very true.
I mean, you could say, well, he represents the guys who get paid a lot of money and the younger players, but he represents the younger players too.
Yeah.
A lot of younger players are also Scott Boras clients. We talked. Mike Moustakas was a rookie. He was a Scott Boras client. That's why everyone said the Royals will never bring him back. So those guys are also his clients. I don't understand what that argument is. So again, maybe I'm just not tuned in enough, but nobody who seems to know more seems to put a lot of credence into that. Like I said, the people I trust to know about this seem to think Bruce Meyer is good at his job and the right guy to have doing this right now. So the player,
obviously they wouldn't have voted him in if they didn't believe that. Like, I get it, stability is valuable, but like if they did not think that he could do the job, they would not have voted him in.
Yeah, it was a unanimous vote. It is only interim, Chief, but it was a unanimous vote of 72 players on one of the subcommittees. I can't keep track of them all, honestly. So it'll be fine, probably. What'll be interesting is how bad do the owners want salary cap? And one take I saw that I from a guy that I really like his writing, but did not like that piece, was Jeff Passan, who basically wrote, the players have an opportunity to figure out the conflict between the owners. I've been arguing for a while now, so I'll just say it outright again, that the salary cap issue is, I think, less a battle between the owners and the players than it is the wealthy owners or the big market owners and the quote unquote small market owners. Because a salary, as I wrote, was it last week I wrote this? Geez, time flies by. As I wrote then, if the starting point for the salary cap negotiation sounds like it's going to be 240 million cap, 160 million floor, half the teams are under that floor. Only 4, 5, 6, something like that were over the cap, and they don't want to be. They'd rather be, oh, I can't spend any more money, I have to pocket it, sorry. And so yeah, it really hurts the quote unquote small market owners. And would it improve their teams? But this is one of the reasons. Well, that's a whole other tangent. But the point is, this is a battle as much between the big market owners and the quote unquote small market owners as it is between the owners and the players. And Jeff Passan wants the players to figure out the owners' differences for them as part of this negotiation, and that's not their job. And I think that's the biggest reason there hasn't been a cap, is because the owners aren't united on it.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
I think if the owners were united.
Most people don't realize how much of their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions pulling details about you from public records and the internet, then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might just sell credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it together at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/secure. Protect yourself now at aura.com/secure.
On it, they could lock the players out for long enough that the players would go, okay, fine, we'll give you a cap, let us back in.
I agree. I definitely do. And I think that, like, unfortunately, the reality is this is a thing that is not going to go away. We're going to be talking about this on and off for the rest of this calendar year, at least.
Yeah, I'm not really looking forward to it. I am sick to death of the salary cap argument already.
Yep. And we're going to hear a lot more of it. Don't you worry about that, Jeremy.
Hopefully, once they start playing baseball, we can just barely be like, yep, they're still talking about salary cap over there. But did you see Bobby Witt swing?
Exactly. And that is, tomorrow we finally have that. Hey, who knows what there will be to talk about by the time we record on Sunday. I do know that one thing we're going to sit down and talk about on our next episode is the idea behind a Royal 6-man rotation. This is something that Matt Cotrero was asked about down in spring training, and he said it is certainly something we've talked about. So we're going to look a little bit at the viability of that. If you want an inside look at it, Connor Moylan of RoyalsReview.com put together a good piece on it. So go and check out their piece. And if you have thoughts, put them down in the comments below, or make your own fan post, or put them on the feed for goodness sakes. Feed the feed, as they say.
No one says that, Jacob.
Okay, I am they.
Okay.
How
about no one should say that, Jacob?
There you go. I already talked about Adam Frazier We already talked about Tony Clark. Is there anything else I'm missing on the Royals front before we get to reviews, Jeremy?
Not on the Royals front, but I did real quick, since we're here, want to mention Emmanuel Clase and how ridiculous that situation has gotten.
Yeah, it's getting
to the
worse.
point that it now looks like he was fixing pitches even during the 2024 playoffs.
Yeah.
And that this was going on a lot longer than I at least initially assumed it had been going on. And that doesn't fill me with confidence.
Nope. It's going to get messier. It's going to get worse.
I mean, it's first of all, there's a lot of questions around why would Emmanuel Clase do this. I have some theories. It's probably inappropriate is the word I'm going to use, but that's not as specific as I want to. It's probably inappropriate of me to speculate those theories on podcast.
Yeah.
You know how to reach me if you want my tinfoil hat theories. And yeah, it's bad for Emmanuel Clase, but it's worse for the sport the more that this gets revealed that, oh yeah, he was doing this for a long time and it took us a while to catch him. So who else is doing stuff like this right now that you haven't caught yet?
Exactly. It's a little scary when you think about it. Let's go ahead and get on out of here though, Jeremy. What do you got for a review? I think you said Mr. Baseball, right?
Yeah, so Mr. Baseball, my favorite baseball movie, barely edges out Major League, and that's mostly because of the racism and misogyny present in that film. Which is funny because racism and misogyny are key plot points of Mr. Baseball, but it's about, hey, let's not be racist. Let's not be misogynistic. Let's talk this out and get our act together a little bit. So Tom Selleck plays this really arrogant ball player who's suddenly not good enough for the big leagues 4 years after earning World Series MVP. Man, it just goes. When it goes, baby.
Yes.
And so he's playing for the Yankees. The Yankees don't want him anymore. The only team they can find to trade him to are the the Dragons. I cannot remember the company name.
I forget on it too, but go ahead.
Chunichi Dragons. I'm not even sure if they're still a team. I should look that up. But he gets traded to them and he goes over there and he's a smartass to everyone about everything. And he's a little bit racist because, this isn't New York. This is Japan. Japan is the boonies. And he's also a little womanizing. And he butts heads with the manager. And all kinds of stuff. And, eventually he and the manager have a heart-to-heart and they figure their stuff out. And they both go, you know what? I was not doing the best that I could do at my job. I can do better. And they work together to get better. And good stuff happens. And it's just chock full of baseball. It's chock full of baseball moments, but it's also chock full of good drama and good comedy. And it's not, I can't say, I guess 100% definitively, but through multiple viewings now, have yet to be able to identify a situation where I'm like, ooh, that's bad, and the movie acts like it's okay. Whenever somebody acts poorly, the movie's like, no, that guy is not acting appropriately, and he should change.
Yeah.
I guess the only thing I'll say is that it doesn't pass the Bechdel test. But that's because, like many baseball movies, there's basically only one woman.
Yeah, that's kind of how it works.
There's the love interest of the main character, and that's it. We don't talk to any other women because it's baseball. Obviously, the exception to that rule is another of my favorite baseball movies, A League of Their Own.
Yeah, it's a lot of good stories.
Are you following the women's baseball league that's starting up?
Not as close as I should. I follow some of the athletes on social media, so like I'll see updates every now and then. I thought I was following a lot more closely in the draft process, like when they were trying out and like, hey, I got selected to be a part or available in the draft, basically. I don't know much about it, but like from what I'm hearing, it sounds like it has a good amount of grassroots support. I need to do more research.
Whenever they start playing games, I got to find a way to watch because, let's watch more baseball and let's get the women involved. If the women's league takes off enough, you know what could happen, Jacob? We could see them show up in MLB The Show. That would be pretty cool.
I mean, we already see some of them show up in MLB The Show, right?
The women?
Yeah.
Athletes? Baseball players? That are currently working for the women's league?
not currently, but like
No, I mean, you
in
have
like
the creative player
Road to the
ability
Show.
and your Tony Stone, and that's it. I want to see the Women's Baseball League players show up.
So their season is not starting until August 1st.
Okay. So we
they
got some
have
time.
Yeah.
And
They
if the
are going
Royals
to
are
be
eliminated by then, we'll have something else to do.
Dang,
What's the
please.
closest team to Kansas City? Do you know?
Man,
I gotta look
let
up where
me
these
take a
teams are
look.
located so I can figure out who the heck I'm rooting for.
So if I recall correctly, I think they're playing in no, that's the softball league that I'm thinking of. The teams are named at least with Boston, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and New York. Those are the teams listed.
All right, well then I'll have to pick based on nickname.
Yep. It's
Just like I picked the Las Vegas Aces as my WNBA team because of their nickname.
It's a pretty good name.
Well, also Ace. Ace could be short for asexual.
Oh, that's true. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
All right, but yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit more later on in the season when their season actually starts.
We
getting
are
closer.
going to be talking about the Women's Baseball League at some point. Like once we are able to figure out what the heck is going on and maybe watch some games, I'm going to make you, whether you do it or not, I'm going to participate.
Sounds good to me, man. Sounds good to me. My review, short one today. I've talked about how much I love Aldi on this podcast before. I think it's a great store. It's one that I went to as a kid. The location there in Manhattan, Kansas, I have fond memories of going shopping with my mom there. Now that is our primary spot for shopping now as an adult. I like most. They have name brand stuff there. I like the Clancy's snacks. I really do. I love these Clancy's kettle cooked jalapeno chips. By far my favorite chip out there. I'd go through them way too fast. I will fully admit that. But very good if you're looking for some alternatives to more higher price name brands. The Clancy versions of them are pretty spot on. So go check them out at least. All right, folks, we're going to go ahead and get on out of here and get on with our evening. So thank you very much for joining us today. What?
I'm looking. They don't appear to have nicknames for any of these teams yet. They just have the city names.
Yeah, they're
I was looking through the
behind.
roster here, and like the first player on here is from Seoul, South Korea, which I'm like, okay, cool. We're going to international early on, baby. And then I also like all of these have cities, and if they're in the United States, then it's city, state, country. Otherwise, it's city, country. Except for this is on Boston. The catcher Clara Rice. She's from USA.
Interesting.
Where in the USA? Dunno, but she's from USA, and
she's from USA.
I'm just wondering where are you from, Clara Rice?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, we'll find out. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get on out of here. So please follow the podcast wherever you're listening at. Subscribe, and we appreciate all the support on all of our platforms: Apple, Spotify, YouTube, the whole shebang. But the best place to support us is over at RoyalsReview.com. You can comment on this podcast episode, but that is just the tip of the iceberg. You can go check out the Royals rumblings every single day, and just a lot of great articles that come out every single day. So once again, I'm Jake Milham. They're Jeremy Greco. Thank you so much for joining us today. And until next time, go Royals.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.